Hey everybody, Greg Rice from Nexus Property Management. Not in the bucket today. I'm at the home office once again, and today I want to talk to you about a tax assessment. It's tax season. I got a tax assessment on one of my properties that was under construction. And the assessment was astronomical. $4,905,800. Whew. Just under $5 million. For a property that was under construction at the time of the assessment, and the assessments took place in December of 2024. The property today, as of May 10th, finally received a certificate of occupancy, and that I received April 18th. That was received on, signed by the building official Ted J. Isabella. And this is an interesting property. You've heard me talk about it, a former church, and it included two structures. Originally it was one, we made it two. The first structure now is 415 Olo Street. That's a rectory. That has 12 apartments in it, and that received its certificate of occupancy on August 22nd of 2024. All right, so those 12 units, all residential, have been online for just about 9 months at this point, and that property is rented. It's habitable, it's occupied. Okay. So come December of 2024, the remaining 20 units, which is the bulk of this property, are still not completed. Construction is ongoing, and I don't have their certificate of occupancy, meaning I can't rent any of these units. So essentially I have 12 of 32 units, and if we do some quick math, I think that's a little bit over a third that is able to be rented and utilized. The other portion of the property, I'm waiting, right? It's under construction. So when I received this assessment of $4.9 million, I was absolutely blown away, completely shocked that I could go from, I believe my assessment was around $800,000 3 years ago, to $5 million. And I believe that's one of the highest priced properties assessment wise in the city. And what I'm going to go through is my experience with the appeals process, and also I'm going to read you and go through my report and my remarks that I gave to Vision Government Solutions, who handles the appeals in conjunction with the city. So first things first, I want to show you the notice that I received. This was from March 4th, 2025. This was my initial assessment, proposed assessment, I should say, that I received from the city. It states 401 Olo Street. The value shown at the bottom of this page represents 100% of fair market value as of December 31st, 2024. A partially constructed property with 12 units is worth $5 million. And it's signed by the interim city assessor, John A. Pagliarini Jr. And he mentions that he is an attorney on this letter. But to me, the interim city assessor was hired to be the interim city assessor, and putting that you're an attorney is not relevant because you were not hired in that capacity by the city. If you're the city solicitor, by all means, ESQ all day. But the city assessor, that's not the position. It's not an attorney position. So I think putting that is not necessary. But in any event, I get that on March 4th. I have my appeal, which I'm going to go through, but I receive my response, and I'll put that up right now. And it says that assessment before the hearing was $4.905800, and the value after review is the same, the absolute same. Not $1 of a decrease after my arguments, which are extremely compelling. And again, it's signed by the interim city assessor, who once again puts the ESQ designation, which I don't understand how that is applicable. So that's what happened in a matter of less than 2 months. So as I read through this, and it's going to get a little bit granular, but I want you to keep in mind that at this point, what I believe is exhausted all of my thoughts as to how they could come up with this type of assessment at that point in time when the property was under construction. And unfortunately, I've come to the conclusion and the opinion that my prior relationship with the previous administration, Mayor Lisa Baldelli Hunt, is impacting their decisions of me and the way that they treat me. And I feel that I'm dealing with a very tough situation with the lead abatement grant, okay, for no reason, I feel, other than prior relationships. And I hate to think that way, but I'm exhausting all of my logical reasoning, and I'm coming up with, yeah, the assessment's the same. No movement. And I received other adjustments on some of my traditional rental properties. I received, I believe, like a $20,000 and a $30,000 reduction. And that's more significant because those properties are only assessed at $500,000. And to receive $30,000 off is, you know, a good amount, a good chunk. And the fact that I didn't receive $1 off of a $5 million assessment makes me raise an eyebrow. How could there be not $1 of an adjustment after my remarks? So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the land. The land is assessed at $320,000. However, I own the same exact size parcel across the street, and they are 04th Avenue and 03rd Avenue. We'll put that up on the screen. That's the parking lot for the church property. And those two lots are assessed at $129,100 and $148,700 respectively. 4th Avenue, that lot is largely unusable as it's ledge rock and a steep hill. I believe this value should be less than 3rd Avenue's. 4th Avenue is also incorrectly listed as 1.26 acres. However, it's only 0.38 acres. That should be adjusted. Additionally, 414 South Main Street is a church, Holy Family, and is on 2 acres of land, as opposed to my 0.7 acres, and that's assessed at $300,900. 2 acres. That land is also on a main road, a better location, and a better quality of mine. It's 100% flat. I have roughly 1/3 the land area of this comparable property, but a higher assessment. And as you see, I go through this. I try to compare my property to religious properties and to properties that were religious and converted to residential, because that's what the tax assessor's office likely did and should have done to compare this, because it's not a normal multifamily property. So I was cognizant of that and did that in my comparisons. 94 Carrington Ave, we'll put that up, and we'll put all these up as I talk, is also another church, and it sits on 0.79 acres. This is almost exact to my 0.76. The assessment on that land is $65,800. This is reasonable, 100% in my opinion. This value is an acre at $86,578.95. I believe that 401 Olo, the land underneath the rectory and the church, should be assessed here. 03rd Avenue should be assessed at $32,899.64 based on it being 0.38 acres. And 04th Avenue should be assessed at less than this number based on the ledge and non-viability of that land for future development and use. So that's my remarks on the land. Relatively insignificant, but significant in the fact that that alone warrants some type of adjustment. The size of the land is wrong in the tax assessor's database. So that right there should offer me some relief. Okay? The property was valued during construction, and only 12 of the 32 units had a certificate of occupancy. this breaks down to 37.5%. I was looking for that number before. Of the property being able to be utilized. The remaining 62.5% was under construction in December during these assessments and remains under construction as of today. And this I'm reading back in April when I had my appeal hearing. So today is not today. Today was last month. The current assessment does not reflect current usability. Only 12 units can be rented, and they're saying market value is $5 million for 12 units. In addition, once the property is fully usable, will my assessment climb to be 3 times its current value? So once the other 20 units are on and I got 32 online, is my assessment going to be $14 million? Double Walnut Hill Plaza's assessment? I don't know. The improvements. All right, now we're going to the tax card. The improvements are listed as $4,585,000. However, my construction budget and loan amount for construction was $3.8 million. I have this documentation available upon request. That is what I spent. In addition, the total amount of this construction was not, and still has not, been spent, as construction has been ongoing, and I do not have the certificate of occupancy. I finally have it now, however. I have partial completion and partial construction. It is also important to note that investment dollars into a property do not turn into value dollar for dollar. For example, you add on a deck at your single family home, it costs you $30,000. That doesn't equate to $30,000 more in value. You put in a $30,000 kitchen, same thing. It's not a dollar for dollar exchange. If it was, then everybody would be investing in real estate, but it's not. I'll spend $15,000 on a turnover of an apartment, and maybe I can get $100 more in rent. It's going to take me 12 years to break even on that money. It's not tit for tat. And I feel like they're trying to say tit for tat here. And I say, and I go on, oftentimes we as landlords and developers are investing large sums into a property to often never see the yield in returns back on that investment. We often see returns in the form of tax incentives and depreciation, not total value or appraisal of the property. Therefore, just because I spent $3.8 million in construction, it does not necessarily equal this much in value on the market. It is also important to note that of the $3.8 million I spent, just under $700,000 of that was paid for project management and not actual materials or construction costs. It was for clerical management of the project starting prior to when I even bought it. So what I'm saying there is I spent $700,000 roughly on a general contractor to manage the construction, to handle the paperwork, to handle the permitting. That's not part of the value. That's what I had to pay somebody else to do that job. That $700,000 is not hanging on the walls anywhere. You can't see that money. That's just something I had to spend. We call that soft costs, in order to implement my hard costs, which are drywall, flooring, counters, cabinets, the tangible things. So $700K is just gone for me as far as value of the property goes. Next one's an easy one. There is a shed listed on the tax card that has been demolished during construction. That should be removed. And I believe it was only a couple $1,000s, but again, that's a small nominal example of something that's no longer there, that should be removed from the total assessment. So even if it's a removal of $2,000, now I'm at $4.903 million. So you see what I mean? There was no adjustment whatsoever for not one thing. Even things that are incorrect. There's no more shed. The shed is gone. But still, boom, that stays on the tax card. that shows that it's there as of today, it's not there. So that's why my mind is resorting to, this must be somebody's personal feeling. This must be some type of collective thought process that we have to treat this guy tough. We have to be hard on this guy. We have to make him appeal. We have to make him spend money on attorneys. We have to make him make a video now so that I can be heard, so people can understand what I'm going through and the perspective that I have. I don't know many people that can afford to do this or have the time to do this. And maybe they get away with high assessments because they know people won't appeal. They don't know how to appeal. Oh, they got to wait. Oh, yeah, I got to do a hearing. Oh, I got to go in person. Oh, I got to take work off. They know that, I feel. But this is my business, so I have to stand up for it. Next is the asphalt. Again, a simple thing. Driving into the property, it's corroded and cracked. It's in disrepair, and I have to redo it. I know that. I have to redo it. But I just can't afford to do it right now. And they have a value on that as being perfect asphalt. It's not. It's crumbling. So again, that's some type of adjustment should be warranted there. Some, but no. Then another small thing, the basement is actually 900 square feet of space. They have it listed at 7,000. The diagram shows that the basement runs the entire length of the whole church. And that's not the case. There is nothing underneath this area other than the dirt from the earth. There's no access. It doesn't exist. So if you go underneath the church, there is a very small basement. It's about 900 square feet that has laundry and some storage. The entire remainder underneath where the parish hall is and the front entrance, the organ area, that whole area is dirt. It's blocked up to the wall. You can't even see it. And if you did get in there underneath the floor, you got to be a little gremlin to get in there. Very small, compact area. There is no basement. There's no concrete. There's no electricity. There's no anything. It's dead earth space. So again, small issue, but I'm bringing it up because it warrants some type of adjustment. 7,000 square feet of a basement compared to 900 is a difference. Next, the property is located in Woonsocket's most socioeconomically challenged neighborhood, Fairmount. And it's characterized by high crime rates, low income and low education levels, and minimal recent investment that I've seen. And these factors negatively impact true market value significantly. And part of the reason why I chose this area is because it needs investment. Nobody's doing any investment there. It's a tougher area. It's depressed. It's very dense. There's garbage. There's debris. Overgrown. The properties are in disrepair. You get the gist. So I said, I'm going to go into the center of this neighborhood where nobody else is going, where nobody's bought this property, and I'm going to make it a beacon of hope. I'm going to make something nice, a diamond in the rough here. And yes, that has value, but it doesn't have $4.9 million of value at this time. The Kevin Coleman Elementary School, which is my neighbor, is slated to close at the end of the year as well. That I wanted to mention to show the trend of the slide of that neighborhood. It doesn't necessarily impact my value at this time, but I wanted to paint a picture of what the neighborhood looks like. And I'm talking to an appeal officer at Vision Government Solutions who probably doesn't know the area as intimately and as detailed as I do, so I wanted to include information like that. So now I'm going to get into my comparable properties. And I have 9 properties that I am going to talk about and that I did talk about in my appeal that are of similar nature, similar status, similar use, and were of the similar use prior. I wanted to paint the picture of, here's a property that was religiously used and purposed, converted to residential units. It's a very boutique area, but I have some examples here. So the first one I mentioned is 77 Federal Street, and we're going to put all these up as I talk about them. This was a religious property turned into a residential conversion. This property is located in the highly sought after downtown area. Okay, it has 33 units. I have 32 units. And again, my property has only 12 of 32 units able to be rented at this time. This property on Federal Street is of full occupancy. It's not under construction. It has 31,000 square feet of living space, and it has a total assessment of $2,468,200, or $74,793 per unit. Okay? This property also has 2 buildings, just like mine, and the property has 3 stories for living space. Mine has 2, technically. Pretty good comparable. About half of my assessment. 167 Blackstone Street, also a former religious property converted into residential units. It has 23,000 square feet of living space. It's 3 stories, again compared to my 2, and that has an assessment of $1,356,500. 706 Social Street, also a former religious property turned into residential units. It has 23,000 square feet of living space, also has 3 stories, and it's located in a much more popular and commercial area. This property is assessed at $838,200. Less than $1 million. And, ironically, this property owner also owns 167 Blackstone Street. Something to consider. 320 Grove Street. This is a former religious property turned into residential units again. It is owned by the same entity that owns 167 Blackstone and 706 Social Street. We'll put those 3 up. Boom, boom, boom. Just saying. It is 11 units, and it's assessed at $960,000, or $87,272 per unit. Next up is 373 North Main Street. This is not a religious conversion. It's a industrial conversion. But this has 4 stories, and it also has a commercial tenant, a liquor store, on the first floor. This property is assessed at $912,500, or just $70,192 per unit. The construction, admittedly, is of high quality, I think higher quality than mine, and is also located in a popular and commercialized area. Mine is not. Mine is in Fairmount. Mine is next to the school that's closing. Mine is the one with the windows being shot out. Put that up on the screen. Okay, that's what I'm dealing with at my property. 402 South Main Street. Also a former religious property converted into 30 residential units. This is right next to the Holy Family Church. It is 3 stories and is assessed at just $2.642 million, or $88,000 per unit. Okay? That's roughly a half a mile from my property as well. Just on the edge of Fairmount. 65 Fifth Avenue is a recent school, and this is 2 streets up from me. This was turned into residential units, and it has 3 majestically tall floors, right? Nice tall school. Remember the old school elementaries? Big tall ceilings. That's 14 units. And it's assessed at $1,467,800, or $104,842 per unit. It also sits on 0.63 acres, which is comparable to my size, right? The land. 23 Clinton Street. This is a 4-story commercial and residential combination in downtown. This has 47 units and is assessed at $3.107 million, or $66,108 per unit. This also sits on 1.02 acres. So finally, those are my comps, and I have one more. One more that is not a comp directly, but it's something that should be considered. Okay? So finally, I struggled to find any properties in the city that were of equal assessment to mine, which I did. But I did find one of the most valuable pieces of land in the city, and it's assessed at $6.4 million. And what is it? It's a single family. No, I'm kidding. It is the Walnut Hill Plaza. And what I want to do is walk down the road. Let's go on Google Maps right now, and I want you to walk from one end of the plaza all the way to the other. I want you to show visibly this area, this caliber of property. This boasts 22 acres of prime real estate of all types of commercial tenants. There are currently 24 different commercial tenants with 320,000 square feet of usable commercial space. And commercial space is much more valuable than residential space. Big numbers. We got some big tenants in there. It's a beautiful plaza. Arguably the best plaza in the area, including Massachusetts. It's a destination, as it should be. So my question is, how is it that my property, which sits on 1/35th of the sized land in a depressed neighborhood with no commercial tenants, and I only have 37% occupancy, how is it that I'm assessed at 77%, roughly 80% of the value of Walnut Hill Plaza? How is that possible? I'm just 1/5 less than their assessment. Do you see where I'm coming from? So, based on this, based on the comparable properties, based on the plaza, it is my belief that the 12 completed units in the rectory should be assessed at $80,000 per unit, based on what other units are being assessed at currently in the city. The remaining 20 units, being incomplete and unable to be legally occupied, should be valued at about $50,000 per unit. That building still has value, even though it's not completed. I agree to that. This would create a total assessed value of $1.96 million as the building sat currently at the time of the assessment. Thank you for your consideration. So that is my full appeal. And I have one more bonus. Okay, one more bonus that I'm going to include because it has developed since my appeal hearing. It has to, and we're going to put this up. It has to do with the sewer charges. And you're going to say, Greg, what the hell does sewer charges matter? They matter for this reason. I received a sewer bill for 32 units. And the sewer bill, I believe, was, I don't remember, $12,000 or whatever. So I was looking at it, I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. But yeah, 32 units, $105 per unit per month times 12 months. Okay, yeah, makes sense. But then I said to myself, but all 32 units toilets are not flushing. They're not used. They're not online. I don't have a CO. Right? Same thought process. So they shouldn't be charging me for 32. They should be charging me for 12. So I reached out to the Department of Public Works, and what did they do? We'll put this up. The director gave me a 20-unit reduction until May 1st on my sewer bill, acknowledging that an abatement was necessary and acknowledging that the property was not in its full use and occupancy. So albeit this is small, it shows that One department at City Hall agrees that an adjustment was necessary. Why does the other department think differently? And even if the property was fully occupied, 32 units, $4.9 million is still excessive compared to what the other properties are listed at. So thank you for listening to this. And I hope now you can understand how my mind arrived at I'm receiving very, very biased treatment. And I'm not receiving any type of flexibility for the shed, for the asphalt, for the basement size, right? These small things, for the land size, none of that. So it makes me think, what else could it be, Greg? What else could it be? How is Walnut Hill Plaza 20% more than your value? I'm bringing this forward so maybe you have a situation like this. Maybe you feel that you're alone and you're boxed in and you have no choice but to comply. Maybe there are other properties in the city that are assessed unfairly and you don't feel like you have a voice. You do. If you feel that your property is assessed astronomically and unfairly, reach out to me and we can review it together, because maybe it's a trend. Maybe I'm uncovering something that is happening but is not reaching the surface, because it's hard for information to reach the surface. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, which I put in over months and months now. So if you feel that your property is also in this bucket, reach out to me. And I'm very familiar in the city, so I can look, if it's a multifamily rental property, I could say, oh yeah, well here's some of mine, they're assessed here, oh here's they're assessed. I can look at that, and I'm not an assessor, but I have common sense, and I have data, and I have experience. So again, I'll keep you posted on this, but I will be appealing this. I've already retained legal counsel. I'm not going to accept that, and I will be staunchly professional, and also I feel educational to others about this. I'm not here to bust balls. That's not what I've done. You've seen and listened. I'm here to seek, we could say, civil justice, financial justice, economic justice, so that I'm treated fairly and the same as other investors and property owners in the city. So that is my motivation, all right? And that's all I got to say. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. And once again, Greg Rice from Nexus Property Management, your property and your tax assessment appeals managed.